Hello, my name is Cherise Sisu, and I am here with my dear friend Marie Dion, author of Journey of a Red Soul. You see that. Um, we just wanted to record a quick video to let you all know why I created this GoFundMe in the first place, a little bit of the background of how this journey came to be, and yeah, and just to answer some of the questions that have come up through the course of our campaign. Um, so the first thing to answer is, why did I set up this GoFundMe? And for me, the answer is simple. Well, Marie is like a soul sister to me. She's a dear, dear friend. And I have received so much from her, her wisdom, her healing. A few months ago in particular, I had a miscarriage, and I thought that I was like over it. And then I went to visit my friend, and she was like, oh, well, there's some healing to do here. And so we did ceremony, and it was profoundly healing for me. And she's my, just the vision person to my words. And so it was when this opportunity arose to give back, I was super excited to do that. And when she told me the story behind this mission that she is going on, I was completely fascinated and totally aligned with it. And so I wanted to help in any way that I could. So that's how this came to be. So now I would love to welcome Marie into the conversation, and just hear in your words, honey, like, how did this object come to you? Like, take us back to the beginning.
Oh my goodness. Well, hello. So 10 years ago, my to-be husband at the time wanted to go to a gun show, and normally I've never been to a gun show. Like
Right.
it's not something I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's not your scene.
No, it's not my scene. And he hunts, and I'm native, we hunt, and we hunt for our food. So
Right.
I was like, yeah, okay. So we were going for just a casual day, and I was barely looking at anything. And then I walked up and I saw this man's table with all these native artifacts. And I was taken quite aback because I didn't expect to see that there, right? But I guess they have vendors there like they would have vendors at any event.
Mm-hmm.
So as I walked up and I saw this sacred object, my jaw dropped, and I was like, what are you doing with that? Oh my God, you're not allowed to have that. And you have it desecrated on the table, like how he had it all together. And then I was just, I was floored. And he looked at me in fear, like, cause he knew I was calling him on it, and he knew it was coming from a place of knowing. So he said, whoa, 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 whoa. And he took it off the table and he goes, let's talk about this. Mm-hmm. Because I was ready to like go get the police. Like I was mad. And I was so shocked. So I had a girlfriend with me, who had went with us, and she was standing there, and he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, we can't buy it from you. It's a sacred object. Like,
sure,
you're not allowed to sell it.
I just want to pause it for a second, because to make clear to the audience, like what you were seeing on the table, the object was all put together as if for ceremonial use, which is like, you only do that in ceremony. And that's where the desecration came from. And and just from ignorance on the point, on the side of the guy who had it, like I think people just don't even know. But that said, like, he knew that you were 100% for real. Yeah.
And just so people know, we can't even describe it and talk about it. Like it's like, to do this is like, okay, how do we talk about this sacred object without talking about it, right?
Yeah.
So
can I ask why we can't talk about it?
Because it's anything sacred for use in ceremony is really protected, I'd say, by the ancestors and the spirits. And we are very careful to protect that.
Yeah.
You know, you have to understand our culture has been, you know, sold and you know, our ceremonies have, you know, people, you know, charge and do ceremonies without permission. And it's just, people have taken so much from us, right? So we are very careful of things that hold power and that actually hold healing and things that we know. I mean, it's like taking the Eucharist out of a Catholic church, and giving it to people as a snack.
Right.
You know,
right.
like
that's such a good example. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, people don't realize like how holy the Eucharist is. It has to stay in that, you know, in the back of the church, and it's reverent and all of that. Yeah. And you can't even drop it if there's this whole ceremony at the Catholic Church. Right. If you drop the host, right? And you can't even have it if you're not Catholic. Like there's all these rules. Well, our sacred things are just as holy.
Right.
You know? So I said to him, you know, I can't buy it. You can't sell this, right? And I believe it was stolen from a burial site from very long ago. Like this is something that should never be in the hands of anybody.
Sure.
Except for the owner or his family.
Right.
Right. So,
in other words, the only way that it could have ended up, I mean, he probably purchased it from someone who purchased it from someone
from the underground
originally. Yeah, exactly. Like there's no way that it would have ended up in his hands if it had not been stolen many years
East
back.
Coast of New England from South Dakota.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And so that's why he got nervous, right? So, and so my girlfriend said, well, why don't you trade for it? She's an amazing artist. Why don't you trade her some of her work for it? And he looked at me and he goes, well, I could do that. And I said, well, and we made arrangements. I would show up the next morning, which was an hour away. It wasn't like it was down the street. So I came home and I packed a bunch of my work in my car, and I'm like, I made my husband drive me back in the morning because I was just so like emotional about this, right?
Yeah.
So I get in the car and I go, and we're getting ready to go, and I'm flanked by spirit warriors on both sides. Flanked like a line of warriors, as if like we were going into battle.
Yeah.
And I lost my breath.
Yeah.
I could see them in my psychic periphery on both sides. I lost my breath, and I was like, oh boy.
Right.
They are coming with me to come and gather this back. And I'm like, whoa, if he does not.
Yeah.
I'm afraid for him, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and what I think is so amazing is that those warriors, they're not your ancestors, right?
No, they weren't my ancestors. And I had only really communicated with my ancestors. I had never like had all these other natives like with me like this before.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it really, it was a little unnerving. Like I was like, whoa, what was I doing, right?
Yeah.
I knew that they were with me though. I knew that they were happy that I was doing this, and that that was their way of showing me to keep going to do this.
Yeah.
You know? So we got there, and I won't tell you the whole story, because if they want to hear the whole story, they can listen to the other recording.
Sure.
But he basically took everything out of my car.
Yeah.
In exchange for this piece. He was very greedy, and that's going to have its own whatever. Like I didn't care. I was just, then he looked at me and goes, well, what are you going to trade me for the bag? And I'm like, I'm not trading you for the bag. I don't care about the bag.
Yeah. Bag. You can keep the bag.
And he thought like, oh, he was going to get more out of me. I had nothing left to give, right? You know.
Yeah. So you said something really something earlier where you said, when we were talking about the origins of the object, and that here you found it in New England, but it came from South Dakota. So how did you come to know that?
Well, I got it home, and I was going to be going to a sweat lodge ceremony with a Lakota man
Mm-hmm.
in another couple of weeks. And I said, oh, perfect. I will bring this to him, right? Like, he'll know what to do or where to bring it, or
Right.
what to, So I had actually my culture. I'm Blackfoot, Micmac, and Maliseet, so I'm not Lakota. So I
Right.
don't know, like, so we all do our ceremonies a little different. I'd never gone to a Lakota sweat lodge.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Canada for our ceremonies, so this was all kind of new to me, meeting him. Of course, it was a little synchronistic, I would say.
Yeah. Because you
And
were already planning to go, right?
I was already planning to go, and I have not been since.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like this was something that I was invited to a lot, right?
Sure.
So I went, and this man and I talked, and after I had told him about the acquiring of this,
Mm-hmm.
and after the lodge, he had gotten some messages about it,
Yeah.
and he called me into a private area, and we talked,
Mm.
and he said, well, you're gonna have to take it back to the Black Hills and put it to rest. And I said, I'm gonna have to what? I had never been out of New England.
Sure.
I go to Canada on the East Coast. Like, I don't know anybody out there. I don't even know where I would go. Like, and he was like, well, you have to do this now. You are tasked with this. And I was taken aback.
Sure.
And I was mad at him. Like, I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you go out there, you fly out there, you rent a car, and you just go. You'll be guided by the spirits. And I'm like,
right, like it's no big deal.
yeah.
This happens all the time. Well, what I love about this moment in the story is how, you really felt like the work had been done. You were like, I rescued the object and I'll be able to hand it over. And, and just knowing and finding and coming to find out that, like, oh, your role is actually just beginning.
So I was so thrown off by this. So I then brought it to my chief at my Micmac Reserve in Canada. And I told him what had happened, and told him, and I brought it to him, and I said, here, I would like some guidance on this. Like, what should we do, right? Is this, I wanted him to really validate what this Lakota man said to me, because I did not have any plans of going to the Black Hills.
Sure.
So my chief had said to me that it was so desecrated that it needed to go with one of the men for 4 years through our ceremonies to be healed.
Wow.
Because it was that badly treated,
like traumatized.
Yeah,
that's how I see it. Yeah.
So he said, then after that, I would get it back, and I would then have to proceed with whatever I needed to do, which was to bring it back, right? And this happened, and when I did receive it back, the spirit that belonged to this piece started to speak to me. He introduced himself.
Yeah.
He introduced, he's told me a few things, and I knew it was from very long ago, because he told me at one point he could not believe the women in this day and age had to do women things and men things.
Right.
And that he felt bad for me.
Wow.
That he could not believe the pace of life and all that I had to do in my day-to-day as a woman, but I had to cross what he thought were the boundaries of being a man.
Wow.
From his perspective, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I formed a friendship with the spirit,
Yeah.
and he's been with me for years.
Mm.
And, and then this is the 10-year mark. They said, you have 10 years to get this back.
Yeah.
And I
It's
was
time.
like, okay. So this winter, I had a very tough winter. I've been, out of work. I got hurt. I was like flat on my back, which never happens to me. Like, I'm
Right.
very vital, right? I've never
Yeah.
been in that situation. And I literally had the conversation with this spirit, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to get you home.
Right.
I said, I don't know how that can happen. Like, I just don't know.
Right.
And weeks later, maybe a month later, the women from the nonprofit that I have associated with the book
Mm-hmm.
reached out to me and said, we're going to South Dakota. And I said, of course you are.
Of course you are.
So then it just so happens that over the course of the winter, I went to another couple of sweat lodges with a dear friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And she had this woman who came out from Custer, South Dakota, doing ceremony with us for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
So I met this woman and we became friends. And I told her about me maybe having to go out there at some point. She said, oh, you can come stay with me and we'll figure it out. We'll do lodge. And if you haven't figured it out by the time you get to me,
Mm-hmm.
we will figure out how to put this to rest and where to bring it, right? So I am going out kind of blind as far as being guided by spirit. I am going with the nonprofit. And of course, the reason that you had put that in there in the campaign is because this trip isn't for me. It's not a vacation, and any extra money. And because I overgive anyway, I will be taking care of the kids at the reservation and teaching them art and doing all these things that I've already, bought supplies, and, there's a lot of whatever's extra is going to go right to them. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then I will, when all of this is done, I'm going to be, well, since I'm already out there, my Blackfoot chief is having their ceremonies. So I contacted him, and I'm actually going to go up and for the first time be able to partake in the ceremonies with my Blackfoot family.
Wow.
So I think that would be, so I'm out there a lot longer than I thought. Yeah. I had to sit my husband down and ask him if he knew I had to do this. And I said, are you going to be okay if I'm away for a month? And he looked at me and he goes, are you coming back? I said, of course. He goes, alrighty then.
What's the problem?
He's not native, so he doesn't understand, but he's always been very supportive. Right. Yeah. So that's where we're at this point. Right?
That's amazing. So what I love is that really this is just about getting you there, getting you to where you need to be. And I'm going to pause for 1 second. So what I love is you have the support of your loved ones, your hubby, me, and the nonprofit. Getting you there, as well as a new friend who will be hosting you there. So there's a lot of support along the way. So now this next piece is just receiving the support to get you there, to cover the travel costs. You need to rent a car, which is a big chunk of the expenses. There are going to be some lodging costs that are out of pocket. I know you mentioned that you'll be camping on reserves.
Oh, yeah, tents and cabins, and people are really taking care of me. Yeah. And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. And I know that something that I need to confess to is I actually you had sent me some preliminary numbers, and I bumped them up a little bit because I know you. And I wanted to make sure that you were really getting what you needed to cover the trip. I didn't want you to get halfway through the trip and be grasping.
Or have
I wanted you to be
credit cards on the way.
exactly. I just wanted you to be really and truly covered, and also knowing that like there is any surplus, should there be any, is going right to the nonprofit. So everything is being donated, whether it is your time bringing this object back to its resting place, finding that resting place, closing the circuit with ceremony with your people. I think it's just an epic journey, and it's just a little bit to get you there. And I think we're really on the brink of that. Is there anything that you would like to add, just to say to the folks who are considering or who are donating today?
Well, I'm very humbled by all of this. I've never been in a position of receiving. I've always been the one that's helped others. Yeah. And it's been it's been overwhelming to me, even the support I've gotten already.
Yeah.
But I know, and the spirits know this about me, whatever, in my prayers, I embrace all who are in my inner circle and outer circle. So as I continue to pray and do my journey and do my ceremonies, I include anybody who's touched by my book or my words, or anybody who's ever kind of come into that outer circle.
Yeah.
Right? And know that everything I get, I give. Yeah. So it's for the good of all. It's not for me.
Yeah.
I guess I want to be just a flow of energy to go out into the world for healing. The whole reason I connected the book to the nonprofit is because my heart is full of what they're doing for people.
Yeah.
And it's I've been involved with a lot of nonprofits, and there is not a lot that actually benefit Native people of this country. And they can't, and this group who's been together for 34 years, their hearts are in the right place, and they're just doing it behind the scenes, and they're doing it in a quiet way.
Yeah.
And that's, I want to support them maybe in a bigger way. I don't know what's I feel like this whole journey is it's gonna change me somehow.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna come back different. But I hope that I become a better human being. From this,
I think that's so true. I think when we're called to do things that are so outside of the scope of anything that we've ever anticipated or planned, there are no accidents, right? It's about that next level. And I also see it as like, this is about forgiveness, right? This is about righting a very, very old and ancient wrong. And, the trauma that's been experienced by the indigenous people that lived here before the rest of us came has been largely unacknowledged. And I feel like this is just like the next step in a long history of just of reckoning, of reconciliation, and of healing, healing backwards, healing forwards. So I see it in this larger historical context of,
because how many sacred objects are out there? How many have not been returned?
Right.
And that gentleman the gentleman that belongs to that spirit, he said, I have no family that's alive. My object can't go to anybody else but my family.
Wow.
And there's no descendants. It needs to go to rest, and you know, as much as, you know, I've helped whatever, like, it's not my place. I can't keep it any longer.
Right.
I can't hold on to it any longer. Right. But how, and the forgiveness needs to happen for these people that took it in the first place. Right.
Of course.
So how much is that you know, there's so much of that desecration out there.
Sure.
You know, and
Well,
so much healing that needs to
yeah,
happen. Eh?
exactly. I feel that by putting this object to rest, it's like it's another like just exhalation. It's another it's another step towards that healing path.
Yeah. And it's multi-generational.
Yeah.
Like if we heal something
Mm-hmm.
in this time and space, it ripples out to before us and after us.
Yeah.
You know, and
Completely.
we're just in the moment. We're the ones, you know, carrying it, the burden in of the journey in the moment, right?
Right.
And doing that learning in the moment, you know, because we're always learning.
Yeah.
You know? I
Totally.
already feel like I know nothing because of this journey. Like everything that I've been on this path for 30 years, I know nothing.
Right.
You know?
Right. Like learning new everything, even you know, what are the you were sharing with me like learning like the different nuances in ceremony and even what you're wearing and you know all of these things, like all of these details that you know you can't just kind of show up like
It's
but
not
you know
like going,
yeah,
you don't just show up like at a powwow and go,
right,
oh, you know,
hey,
yeah,
I got
hey.
this I got this thing with me. I know it's really it's I'm seeing how this journey is impacting you, and I think the ripple effect is really beautiful. I just want to thank everyone who has joined us, and thank you, thank you, thank you for your support. Thank you, Marie, for joining us today and sharing a little bit more about your story and how you came to be on this journey.
Oh, and my sister, I cannot thank you enough for all your effort here. Like I just I'm really, my heart is full.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my
I've never had anybody do anything like this for me before, and I'm really touched.
oh, thank you, honey. You deserve it. All right. Mwah.
Mwah.
Much love to you. Much love to everyone who joined us on this video and who's joining us in this campaign. Um, every amount is all donations are wonderful, and please help us spread the word. Share this video. Share the GoFundMe campaign. And certainly, any questions. If there's any questions that we can answer for you, comment in underneath the video, and we'll respond. So so much love to you. For the what? How do you close? For the good
I
of the
finish
highest
my
good of all.
ceremonies. I say Om Signogama is all my relations in Mi'kmaq. So Om Signogama Aho Matakweyasi to honor the Lakota, and Nitsukoi Blackfoot. So
Mm.
yeah, Om Signogama Aho Matakweyasi Nitsukoi.
Oh, good. Thank you.